Got to say thank you to our studio audience for joining us today on Delmarva Life. To find out how you can become a member of our studio audience, simply visit delmarvalife.com, click on the Show tab, or you can call the number there on your screen, 443-880-9116.
Birthdays, graduations, weddings, they're celebrations we encounter at one point or another, but what's the right thing to do when it comes to these special events? And we're here now with our etiquette expert, Nancy Mitchell. Thanks for coming back.
My pleasure.
So first thing we want to get to, when you're invited to an event, such as a birthday, graduation, the ones we just mentioned, and you can't go, do you still have to give a gift or send a gift at some point?
It depends on your relationship with the honored individual. If you are very, very close to that person and you feel in your heart that you do want to give a gift, yes. There are no gift rules. There's no guideline that says this is when I must give a gift, this is when I don't have to give a gift. I like to think that you're giving a gift from your heart, and then that's the way it's received. Nobody should be on the receiving end with a checklist saying, got one from him, got one from her. That's not the way it should work.
So it's totally up to the person. There's no set
totally
rule.
Up to the giver.
Okay. The other thing too is something that everyone has encountered at one point. You extend an invite to someone, whether it be the wedding or birthday party, and then they either ask or they just kind of infer that they're going to be to bring a guest when they weren't given one. How do you tactfully handle that kind of situation?
It happens all the time. What I would say to the recipient of the invitation is, please look at the outside envelope. How is that addressed? Is it to you and guest? Is it to Mr. and Mrs.? Is it to two names on the invitation? If not, you're the sole invitee, and that's how you should respond. Now, on the other side of the coin, if you are the host or hostess and you get that sort of response that guest is bringing someone with them, you need to get on the phone and you need to say, I hope you'll understand that we have a very limited guest list here. The facility is such that we can only accommodate a certain number of guests. I hope you'll understand we were not able to include a guest with each of our invitations. You'll really, it falls back to you. You're going to have to call
and confront them personally.
And confront them personally.
All right, let's talk weddings a little bit. There are people that everyone wants to invite to their wedding, but because of space or finances, they necessarily can't. If there's someone meaningful that you can't invite to your wedding, such as co-workers or distant friends, do you pretty much approach them and say, listen, I wanted to invite you, but I couldn't, or do you just leave the topic alone?
I would leave the topic alone unless it came up. If the person actually came out and asked you about it, which they should not do, I wouldn't bring it up. I would just say, in my own mind, we had our number, we knew what we were doing, we had to make the cutoff somewhere. Think about that. Every host is going to have to make the cutoff somewhere. If you had to go to every single person who wasn't on that list who was part of your life, that's all you'd be doing is making those calls. I wouldn't confront the situation or the topic, if you will, until it comes up.
Because once you start it for one person, you're going to just have to keep doing it for
Absolutely.
everyone. As we discussed earlier, I'm getting married this coming September, and one of the situations that I'm faced with right now, and I need help, I need advice. A college friend of mine is getting married in August. I'm getting married a month after her. We recently had lunch together. Again, we're not super close, and she pretty much hinted that I was going to be invited to her wedding. Now, she is not on my guest list. Am I obligated to also now add her and her husband, or no?
You're not. You already had in mind who was going to be on your guest list, the size of the guest list. I would not change it or increase it every time someone crosses your path with a topic of conversation like that. And again, if she hinted at, you really don't know that down the road, is she going to be able to include you or not? Maybe she's going to be in the same situation. They get to counting heads or noses, if you will, and maybe your invitation is not going to be mailed after all.
And it all adds up quickly, the number of people and the price.
And don't go there. Don't have other people driving the train, so to speak. This is your day, your event. You're in control.
Okay. We're going to switch gears here a little bit. We're going to talk about funerals. What should a person be wearing to a wake or a funeral? You know, we were looking online before doing all of this, and there were a lot of people who were unsure about this. They didn't know if jeans are acceptable. Is there an etiquette nowadays when it comes to the attire you wear to a wake or a funeral?
I think that the one traditional guideline is still in place, and that is that you're going to dress out of respect for the deceased and for the family. You would consider, where is the event held? Is it truly awake? Is it a party in a pub? Sometimes people are going to have that sort of party because that's the way they know that the deceased would like to have had his or her life celebrated. So consider the venue, consider the family, consider the tone of the event, which you can pick up from all the signals that are given when you're invited to such an event, and then dress accordingly. You're trying to dress out of respect for the family, and normally that is not jeans.
And then one last question. If you can't go to a wake or a funeral, what is the best way to express your condolences or to show that you care?
It's usually a handwritten note. You can buy a sympathy card, that's fine, but just to sign your name to a sympathy card is not the same as in the margin of the card, writing about the family or writing to the recipient of the card how much the person meant to you or how much the family means to you and how they're in your thoughts. Certain things to think about not saying are, I know how you're feeling. You don't.
Right.
I know how this must be affecting your family. You don't. Just say from your heart how you felt about the person, what role they played, and families love to hear reminiscences about the deceased and how they left an impact on the life of the person who's sending the card.
So
make it a handwritten note.
Simple and meaningful. Absolutely. All right, Nancy, thank you. You're always a wealth of knowledge. And for more information on this segment, you can head over to our website, delmarvalife.com.
Thank you.
Next on Delmarva Life, this one will make you want to move your feet. The steppers from the Pocomoke High School after-school program are in the house.